Microsoft recently revealed that they have laid off about 9% of the entire Xbox division. So almost 1 out of 10 of all Xbox employees suddenly don't have a job. Now, it's a little bit misleading to say that because most of the layoffs are people who worked for Activision Blizzard, which is a company that Microsoft recently acquired. And what typically happens with mergers and acquisitions is that a little thing called consolidation starts to happen, where roles that become redundant because now, you have, let's say, 2 employees that handle PR, or they handle quality assurance, or they handle whatever. Like, they don't feel the need to have those same 2 people, who used to work for 2 different companies now work for one company. So you just need 1 role for the one company and not 2 roles for the one company. So that is something that pretty much always happens whenever a company is purchased or if there's a merger or anything like that. That being said, I find it funny how so many people online pretend that they're so sad and devastated about these employees losing their jobs. Meanwhile, this is the thing that most of the people who are pretending to be upset about this is what you wanted to happen. This is what you advocated for the past year and a half, ever since Microsoft announced that they were planning to acquire Activision Blizzard. It's common knowledge that this type of stuff comes with the territory when a company is bought up by another company. So this is the future that y'all wanted. Y'all wanted so badly for Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard, and here are the end results of that. A lot of people without a job. Now, that's not to say that Activision is just this amazing company and Microsoft is ruining them. I'm not trying to get into fanboy bullshit rhetoric here in this video. Although I do think it's funny, though, how most of the Xbox fanboys who just a few short months ago were trashing on Sony and how 8% of Bungie's workforce were laid off, radio silence now. That they're not keeping that same level of energy now that Microsoft has laid off almost 10% of its entire workforce. That's all I was hearing. Sony's such a poorly managed company. They're such a terrible company, laying off all these people. You guys feel the same way about Microsoft? You guys feel the same way about Phil Spencer? Yeah, that's what I thought. But, I think it just speaks to this whole thing has been so weird. Especially like a lot of these creators and a lot of these influencers who, aside from gaming, they identify politically as left-wing, socialist, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to this, oh my god, they were dick-riding Microsoft to the very end. Like, they were rooting for Microsoft to swallow up another big company and to further consolidate and to pretty much create a more monopolistic atmosphere in the video game industry. Like, this is the most capitalist, greedy thing that could possibly happen in any industry. Buying not just a game publisher, the largest game publisher in all of video game history has been purchased by one of the largest hardware manufacturers, console manufacturers. I guess now they don't really care so much about the consoles as they care about selling these shitty subscription services. That's what Microsoft is now. They are trying so hard to become the Netflix of video games. Like, you can't be anti-capitalist and support this at all without being a complete clown and a hypocrite. That's just the reality. So, wow. I continue to be amazed by the reaction that people have been having regarding this whole situation with Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. Ironically, a lot of the people who were let go, they were people who were in the quality assurance department and people who were like community managers and people in those kinds of roles. That is something that Activision definitely needed the most work with in terms of improving the company and improving Call of Duty, because that's Sadly, that's all that Activision has been over the past few years is Call of Duty. Occasionally, they released, they had Spyro and Crash remastered, and they came out with Crash 4. But compared to 20 years ago, when Activision had so many different games that they were doing, it's pretty much they're all in on Call of Duty, and they have to release a new game year after year after year after year after year. Now, almost 10% of their employees are gone, and I know that Microsoft employees are probably going to end up filling a lot of those roles, but I don't think it's an early sign that this may not be as good of a thing, from the perspective of an Activision fan or a Call of Duty fan. Having different people in charge, it doesn't automatically mean that things are going to be better. It doesn't. So I don't know what exactly the future holds for Activision Blizzard, or for the Call of Duty series, or for Overwatch, or for whatever else, is under that umbrella. It's too early to really say definitively, but that's not a good sign when they just get rid of all of these employees from Activision Blizzard, which is what's to be expected when when they get purchased by a bigger company. This happened months ago when the UFC merged with the WWE, and a whole bunch of WWE employees were let go, and because they figured that the people who already worked for UFC can handle a lot of the stuff that the WWE employees were already doing. So yeah, I mean, this happens all the time, so it's not surprising as much of it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not a merger or an acquisition is not necessarily a good, positive outcome. Certainly not for the people who are now jobless, right? And they typically work in these these expensive cities is where these companies are headquartered, and rent is really expensive and all this stuff, and they're gonna have a really, really hard time. These are so many lives being uprooted, and a lot of people are not going to completely recover from this. Some lives are going to be ruined from this. If you're sad about this, then you should also say that you regret wanting Microsoft to buy Activision in the first place. Because this was always inevitable. So you just got to live with that.